This isn't easy. Like, oh, Ben, I need you to do this all the time. But I'm really happy I get to do this. But just bear with me because I stutter a lot. Laugh at the confusion, live for the moment, and know that everything happens for a reason. I love you guys, and so do I. And so do they. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to me.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike. And in this little video, TikTok really is the gift that just keeps on giving. Because some people are sharing things they really should not be sharing, and it all comes back to looking for some of that sweet attention. Like young Sarah over here, who bawled on TikTok after allegedly committing something absolutely horrifying. Today, we're going to investigate 2 TikTok accounts, each of which is linked to a horrifying crime, to committing one, to being the victim of one. Let's give it a go. Our first case, it takes us to Tyus, a small community almost on the Georgia-Alabama line. The population there, if you hadn't asked me, and I know you do, is a titty touch shy under 600. The story of this case begins early on Thursday, February 20th, 2025. It was then that Carroll County deputies were called to a house on Tyus Carrollton Road. There had been a report of a shooting in the house. Bodies had been found. Deputies raced over, right, and going through the house, making their entry, going through every single room, they eventually made it to the master bedroom of that home. In the bed lay 2 bodies. At first, you would think these 2 people were just sleeping. They were just lying there asleep, if you ignored the extensive amount of blood surrounding them. In the bed lay 45-year-old James Brock and his wife, 41-year-old Kristen Brock. They both had been shot dead. The couple had been together close to 10 years, though married for just over 1, living in the 1500 block of Tyus Carrollton Road, a little countryside neighborhood. James and Kristen had been raising 3 kids together. It was like a blended family. They each had 1 kid from a previous relationship, while their youngest, a 5-year-old girl, was theirs together. James Brock, he had 4 sons of his own. His wife Kristen, a boy and a girl, Sarah, Grace, and Donnie. And together, James and Kristen had Jaylee, 5 years of age. And it was the youngest, the 5-year-old, who had walked into her parents' bedroom early that morning because her parents should have been up and about at this stage. And they were not. She was the one who walked in and found her mom, Kristen, and her dad, James, covered in blood, lying in bed. It seemed like they had both been shot as they slept. The 5-year-old girl then ran to find her older sister, 16-year-old Sarah Patrick, and it was her who dialed 911.
Police in Carroll County are still looking for a person or people responsible for gunning down a couple inside their Carrollton home. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office says deputies found the husband and wife early Thursday morning in their bedroom.
The couple were Georgia natives, living in this quiet area. Now, Kristen and James didn't always have it easy during those almost 10 years. There were allegations of drugs use in the home, fights that sometimes played out via social media. Kristen allegedly tried to run James over in her car at one point, if you can believe that. However, over the summer of 2024, both Kristen and James joined a local church and seemed to have turned things around. They were very active in their local church, the Catalyst Church of Carrollton. The church environment appeared to have helped them a lot, and things, on the surface at least, appeared to have improved in the home. James had his physical troubles. He had suffered a heart attack. James was awaiting a heart transplant. He had an implanted defibrillator, but his body had rejected it. And so then he had an LVAD device, which is basically a mechanical pump to help out a weakened heart. And when that's implanted, it can be tough going. It's a big step. James was the kind of guy who would, post dad jokes on Facebook. And if you go onto each of their Facebook profiles right now, you will see they constantly posted at how much, their kids meant to them and how much they just absolutely adored all of their children. For example, James posted a picture of their youngest. "When I don't feel good, I find comfort in this little girl. Love you, angel cakes," tagging Kristen in the post. Only hours later, they both would be shot dead in their bed. When the investigation sprang up, it was obviously shocking to everybody who lived around them, and the first kind of port of call when you're finding a scene like this would be, is there a gun in the room? There was not. They didn't find the murder weapon, so therefore that immediately ruled out a, murder, self-inflicted type deal. Somebody had done this to them. Who could have crept into their home that night? It was an unthinkable act in this quiet rural town. The investigators, though, remained tight-lipped from the very start about their theories. Talking to neighbors, family, and friends, they were a quiet, happy family. A shocking crime in this quiet community. There was no sign of a forced entry, and the back door to the home had, from reports, been left open, so that's how likely the killer, or killers, could have gained entry. However, the police would also say they found no signs of a robbery. Nothing was missing in the home. The entire motive seemed to have been taking the Brocks' lives. The police and the sheriff's office were absolutely determined to solve this horrifying murder. They would be at this house almost every single day going forward, gathering any neighborhood CCTV that they could find. Kristen's own father, he would offer $5,000 for any information leading to an arrest and conviction in his daughter and his son-in-law's murder.
This is so horrendous. You just can't imagine that someone would come in and just take the life of two good people.
Sitting in his home, looking at pictures of his daughter, Dennis Nolan is still in disbelief.
And his first words were, "Kristen and James are dead." And I just couldn't believe what he was saying.
Nolan's daughter, Kristen, and her husband, James Brock, were killed in their Carroll County home last Thursday from apparent gunshot wounds. As of Monday, their deaths remain a mystery.
Why would someone want to do that? They didn't steal anything. There was nothing of value in the house.
To the wider community, though, this case seemed to be going cold quick. Police made fewer and fewer announcements as the weeks went by. Sarah Patrick, the 16-year-old daughter who still lived with her family, she would post tearful videos on TikTok. She'd even given the eulogy at her mom and stepdad's funeral. Again, a tearful eulogy. It's very upsetting.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Sarah, and I am Kristen Brock's daughter and James Brock's stepdaughter. This isn't easy. My whole family needs to do this all the time, but I'm really happy I get to do this. But just bear with me because I stutter a lot. I just wanted to say goodbye to my mama and Jamie since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys always being here to the point that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here. I didn't have a single clue how much I needed y'all until now. For James, thank you for all the life lessons you taught me and for being the best bonus dad ever. Your heart will finally be healed in heaven and neither of y'all will be in any pain anymore. Although that gives me so much comfort, your fight was not supposed to end there. And for my mother, everything we went through does not define what kind of person or what kind of mother you were. You were a beautiful, kind soul with so much gratitude and so gosh dang strong. And you taught me so many life lessons, and some you just recently taught me with through a letter you sent to James in 2018. When I first read it, I smiled and I cried, and I got chill bumps. But every single time I read it, it puts me to a lot of peace. I love you guys, and so do they. I'm sorry.
And folks, before we continue, let me talk to you about the greats. And we all know the greats are greats for a reason. I mean, don't you just love it when a classic comes back into your life like an old friend? Horror movies and franchises that have been quiet for a few years but then come stumbling back to life. As you all know from the horror movie reviews I do on the podcast, 28 years later just came out. The new Final Destination movie just came out, which was my favorite in the franchise. And this August, guess who's back and better than ever? This video's sponsor, Raycon. And Raycon's fan favorite everyday earbuds classic model, now packing active noise cancellation. You know I love my Raycon earbuds and they just got better. Look at them, pretty sweet, and they sound even sweeter. Speaking of classic, you got the classic awesome features. 8 hours of playtime, 32 hours of battery, Three separate sound modes for your pleasure, and also the incredible new active noise cancellation. For me, it is absolutely mandatory when I'm writing and editing these old videos so I can stay in the zone. Am I talking loudly? I feel like I'm talking very loudly. But they are great for any time. Listening to podcasts, That Chapter podcast, playing games, watching the horror movies I tell you are worth watching, not the bad ones.
Can't believe that you haven't done that what I told you about that. Why did it?
And sometimes you just need to get away from it all. I can't hear a thing. Not to mention, they feel good, and they're not going to fall out of my big fat head. Their audio quality rivals all the big brands you know and love at half the price. So do yourself a favor and pick up Raycons today. And you know what? Tell them That Chapter sent you. Go to buyraycon.com/chapter to get 20% off fan favorite everyday earbuds classic. Sponsored by Raycon. Once again, go to buyraycon.com/chapter to get 20% off fan favorite everyday earbuds classic. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this old video. Now let's get back to it.
Doesn't know it, but a year from now our family will be torn apart, and I will move far away and won't see or talk to him for 5 years. And as
She would bawl in videos and post tributes to her past mom, who she clearly missed ever so much. But the police were keeping their mouths shut from get-go and released almost nothing about who could have done this to the Brocks, which makes the entire case even just that more horrifying when it seemed like the police, publicly at least, had nothing to go on. And so it's like when you have something so horrifying, it's hard to imagine, but yeah, life just sort of goes on. Sarah Grace Patrick, the person who called 911 that very morning, she kept posting on TikTok, posting about doing the moves and the things and all that, all the TikTok things that people do. Sarah and her 12-year-old brother Donnie moved back in with their biological father, Doniel Patrick. Apparently, Sarah had wanted to live with him originally, and Doniel posted on his Facebook a note that Sarah had left for him. "Dear Dad, I love you so much, and I don't know what I would do if God didn't send you. I love you, and I know a lot has happened, but just know I love you and we got this. Sarah Patrick. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being an amazing dad." After all that her and her siblings had been through, it would be an understandable thing to write to your father. Sarah would in fact use his social media a lot after moving in with him, using his phone as hers had been seized as part of the investigation. It's Sarah, Kristen's daughter, for those of you who didn't know. This mostly says what happened. However, the parts he didn't know at the time was Jaylee, my sister, had found them and came to wake me up. I won't go into further detail, but know that there are things on the news that are not true. But the rumors and the assumptions do not help, unless you contact the police about it. However, I trust in God to make this right, and I know He will, and the truth will come out in the end. If you know something, please, please, please speak up. I beg of you. Because this split me and my sister up after such a traumatic day none of us deserved. My animals had to find new homes. My home is gone, and I can't even get my wallet or clothes or anything, even Bible. I lost my sense of safety, and most of all, they took my mother and my stepdad that was there when my amazing father couldn't be. It's been horrific, and I would like if people would hug their families extra long after you see this. I wish I got up and hugged her when I said goodnight. You never know how much you'll regret not doing it until it's too late. I pray for whoever did this, but this was not right, and I need answers why. Sarah later graduated on May 21st, 2025. Now, racking my brains to see why I'm focusing on 5 whole months after the double homicide that occurred in February 2025. In July 2025, there was an update, just a little update. Now, there had been no updates or movement on the case until, boom, July 8th. When it was announced, they had arrested now 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick for her parents' murder. It was shocking, to say the least. The person who spoke tearfully at her parents' funeral posted these videos on TikTok, had allegedly murdered her parents in the middle of the night before waiting for her 5-year-old sister to be the one that found them.
Today, we can confirm that an arrest has been made in the case. Kristen Brock's 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, has been taken into custody and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault in connection with the deaths of her mother and her stepfather. While the case has not remained in the public spotlight in recent months, the investigation has never gone silent. The pursuit of justice does not end today, however. It is very possible, because this remains an open and ongoing investigation, that more arrests and charges could be made. Who knows what's going on in a young person's mind like that, but she has been arrested and charged now, and we feel confident that she is responsible for their murders.
That eulogy, apparently those in attendance at her parents' funeral say it was fake.com, faketears.com.
And every single time I read it, it's not.
She was like bawling, but not really bawling. Like she fake tears, crocodile tears. It was almost like from the moment she gave that eulogy, people were like, raised eyebrows time. The TikToks were all her publicizing a murder she had allegedly committed, whether it was for attention or pity or clicks, who knows. And then another TikToker came forward, saying that Sarah Grace Patrick had reached out to her, asking them to cover the case of her parents' murder.
Y'all, this is Sarah Grace, and she messaged me back on June 3rd and just said, search up Brock case. So I said, Brock Turner? Brock who? She said, Kristen and James Brock. Hold on. They're my parents, and out of nowhere, a random Thursday night in February, someone came in my house with me and my 5-year-old sister, and my parents left them for me and my little sister to wake up to. Technically, it was a Wednesday night because I found them Thursday morning, and I said, not knowing she was going to wind up arrested for this, I am so sorry. I cannot imagine. I will absolutely research and cover their case. Please take care of you always. Again, not knowing, and I covered it.
Allegedly, reportedly, a true crime TikToker said she had DM'd her, asking her to make a video about the story, and then when she did, she would reply in comments giving more and more details. That, if she did it, is next level batshitness. The police notified Sarah Grace Patrick that they had put out a warrant for her arrest, and she in fact turned herself in. The police have said they have mountains of evidence. They have the friggin' Rockies of evidence proving that Sarah Grace Patrick, SGP, murdered her parents. Now, they haven't said what Sarah Grace Patrick, SGP, what the evidence is, but they have said it's basically all digital evidence, and that proves she had murdered her parents that morning. Maybe they were fighting, allegedly Sarah had wanted to live with her dad, not her mom, or maybe they wouldn't let 16-year-old SGP do something else. But on social media, the last time Kristen posted about her daughter was March 2024. When Sarah was working at a shaved ice stand, and she seemed proud of her daughter. So authorities have said it's her clackety digital footprint that led to her arrest. Messages, what she'd been Googling, I presume all of that sort of thing. I mean, judging even just from her TikTok. Digital footprint, she's Bigfoot with all the stuff she left behind. Meanwhile, her grandfather, Kirsten Brock's father, the man who posted the $5,000 reward for, arrest, conviction, he has come forward since and said he does not believe that Sarah murdered her mom and her stepdad. He believes her to be innocent. I mean, this is still just sort of coming out, but this is like crazy shocking.
Do you believe she's the one who did this?
No. I think, to sum it up, really, the detectives, the best they could tell me was the evidence says that she's the only one who could possibly have done it. That says to me that there's no real evidence that says she did do it.
Her father, Doniel, he too publicly stated he believes his daughter Sarah Grace to be innocent of the murders. Quote, I just want to go on record and say I know everybody is talking. Many people are talking about things they don't even know. They are just talking and writing about stuff that is completely false. I mean, the fact that she posted all of these kind of things on TikTok just makes this all the more insane. Why would she do that? Was she just looking for attention? Did she do it? What kind of wacko do you have to be to allegedly murder your mom and stepdad and then ask people to publicize what you did? And ultimately, did she do this alone? Where's the murder weapon? It is not believed the Brocks owned any firearms themselves, and none have been found, or at least that the police have stated. Sarah was 16 at the time of the murders. You need to be 18 years of age in the state of Georgia to legally purchase a firearm, so how did she get it? How come no one heard the gunshot? Still a lot of questions in this case. I mean, murdering your mom and stepdad is a pretty harsh step to jump from what appeared, up until the murders, to have been just a regular teen girl. She had a boyfriend, she had a regular life, she had a job, and usually it's not girls who do this. You know, murdering family, that's sort of for the fellas. So yeah, this case, the alleged case of the TikTok killer it's still ongoing, but I got a feeling this case is probably gonna get very, very big. On TikTok today is the account Just Phoebe. It was ran by Phoebe Bishop, and as you can see, a lot of the posts were pretty down. Seems like she was going through some deep shit. Well, in the case of Phoebe Bishop, that only scratches the surface, let me tell you that for free. In early 2025, 17-year-old Phoebe Bishop was living in the town of Gin, a small town of about 1,000 people in Queensland on Australia's east coast. This is a sort of rural enough area, a few hours north of Brisbane. Phoebe did have it tough, especially for somebody so young. She didn't get on at all with her parents. I don't think she had I think her relationship with her dad was like that. Big zero. She didn't get on well with her mom either. In fact, on TikTok, in one of those conversation with your younger self trends, she wrote, "Mom will never be proud. We don't see nor talk to her, but it's better like this." She had been in and out of her mom's house, but in fact was now lodging with two others, acquaintances of her mom. 35-year-old James Wood and 33-year-old Tanika Bromley. Tanika had worked with Phoebe's mom. James Wood, big fan of the Utes, his old custom pickup trucks. Even being featured in a documentary about them.
What again?
Welcome to the outback. Life's too short to worry about what other people think. Creativity is at the heart of every part of this lifestyle and who we are and what we do. From how we dress to how our utes are to the way we sell them. We're all what society would probably call a bit rough around the edges.
James and Tanika were in a relationship together for a little less than a year. It's pretty young to be living with essentially what would have probably been almost strangers to Phoebe, and she was working at a cleaner at the time. She wasn't in the best place in the world. Now, young Phoebe was a free spirit. She marched to the beat of her own drum. She lived her own life, likely why she wasn't living at home. Music was her religion, she would say. And she was, at the time, dating a fellow who lived across the country, if you can imagine that. He lived all the way in Perth, Western Australia. Come May 2025, she was due to head off on a 10-day trip to go and see him, and she was extremely excited to see her man, as you can imagine. The flight Phoebe was due to get was due to leave May 15th, 2025. It was an early-ish flight. And from Gingin to the airport was maybe a 40-minute drive. So James and Tanika were going to bring young Phoebe, doing her a solid, they were going to drive her to the airport. Now, they all left grand. Although James, he would later say that morning, Phoebe had actually overslept through her alarm, and so she was very stressed out that morning. They were sort of kind of rushing around, but they had more than enough time to get to the airport and to make the flight. And James and Tanika would say, make it to the airport on time. They did. Although a little stressful, they'd seen Phoebe off just fine, no snags. The flight would have taken Phoebe approximately 5.5 hours, and waiting for her there in Perth was her boyfriend. Thing was, her boyfriend, all the way cross country in Perth, he was there at the airport, standing at arrivals, eagerly waiting to see his girlfriend he hadn't seen in quite some time. But he was waiting, and he was waiting, and he never saw 17-year-old Phoebe Bishop walk out of arrivals. It was then police were informed that nobody could get in touch with her, and it would be learned pretty soon she hadn't even checked in for that flight to Perth. CCTV showed she didn't even enter the terminal. She had just vanished. She had no social media activity, not responding to texts, calls, went nowhere. Her family then began an extensive search for the missing 17-year-old
Phoebe Bishop.
James Wood, who had driven her to the airport, he would say that morning Phoebe, she was extremely stressed out, but they drove to the airport and they were doing fine. Doing grand for time, should have made it not a bother. However, while driving to the airport, Phoebe had gotten into, she'd, called her boyfriend, and they just begun shouting. They got into this huge argument. She was shouting and roaring off the phone. Eventually, when they were pretty close to the airport, James actually pulled the car over to the side of the road, and himself and Tanika, they got out of the car. Phoebe, still in the car, apparently roaring her head off to her fella. So James and Tanika were like, okay, you know what? We'll leave him the car. We'll give him 5, let him cool off. Then we'll go back and we're almost at the airport. We'll drive her there. Not a problem. So James and Tanika, they got out, shot the shit, kicking rocks or whatever. After about 5 minutes, then they walked back to the car to go to the airport. Phoebe wasn't in the car. She wasn't in the car, nor was her luggage in the car. Now, they assumed, oh, she must have just gotten out of the car herself and walked to the airport because it was relatively close. So they then got in their Hyundai, started driving down the road. Maybe they'll spot her walking along the side of the road just to make sure they didn't see her. They then began driving around all the roads surrounding the airport just in case they didn't see her. But after a while, they were just like, well, we assume she made it. We assume she made it to the airport. We assume she checked in and is off. Not our problem anymore. It was the next day then that Phoebe's sister texted James, where is she? The car was seen on CCTV, so at least some of the story was true. But where was she now? And James and Tanika's car, the one Phoebe had been driven to the airport in, was now mysteriously missing. Search warrants were requested and received, and some strange and dark things about Phoebe's housemates was discovered. No one had really known how turbulent this time had been in Phoebe's life. The car seen in CCTV driving to the airport was believed to have been Tanika Bromley's, but now it was nowhere to be found. Not for days, not until May 26th, over a week later, in the town of Bundaberg, about 40 minutes away from Jinjin. A local spotted it, or rather a local spotted a Hyundai that matched the description of the car, but it had been magically transformed with the help of my little old friend, duct tape. The car was now sporting a brand new registration, done in the way even a 5-year-old would say, that's shite. They had changed the original 414 EW3 very crudely to 474 BW8. They also, hilariously, changed the Hyundai logo to a Toyota one. Guns and ammo were also found in the cars, and Tanika would get the bracelets, being arrested on weapons charges.
Tanika, do you know anything about Phoebe's disappearance?
Tanika, where's
What happened
Phoebe?
to Phoebe, Tanika? Tanika, do you have anything to say about the guns police say they found in your car?
Did you really drive her to the airport?
Tanika, what happened to Phoebe?
Where is she?
The Jinjin house where Phoebe had been living with James and Tanika was also searched, and where Phoebe had been living was something else.
Stepping into Jinjin's house of hell. This is just a hint of what will confront you behind this door.
I can't prepare you enough for this.
It's where Phoebe Bishop saw out her final days. The only thing worse than the squalor is the stench.
Oh, my goodness.
Pretty gnarly house of horrors. There was dog shit on the floors, along with the previous owners. 4 dead dogs were reported to be found, though that number could be as high as 13 dead dogs on the property. It's horrifying to think that Phoebe, not much more than a child, had been living in these circumstances with 2 almost complete strangers. Now, James and Tanika would later be questioned about, why are you living surrounded by dog shit and dead dogs? Now, he would say a lot of the dead dogs are actually puppies who had died of hookworm. You're still living with, so natural causes, but you're still living. Dead dogs. Still living with them. Doesn't bother you. Like, you can smell the video. Doesn't smell like roses and daisies, my friend. The house and the car were quickly considered crime scenes, and James began living out of his car. And I remember that phone call that James said Phoebe had been having on the way to the airport where she was shouting and roaring at her boyfriend before getting on a flight to see him. Well, her boyfriend in Perth, he would of course be questioned, and he would say he actually had received a call from Phoebe that morning, during the time when It's likely she would have been in the car on the way to the airport. He said he picked it up, dead silence, and then it just went dead. It's very likely that call was not made by Phoebe.
A normally quiet street in Gin, now a flurry of action as police search for any clues trying to find Phoebe Bishop.
These messages from the 17-year-old: "I've been better, I focus on the good," expressing excitement for her 10-day trip, also revealing she wasn't happy at home.
The search intensity began to ramp up, and this was news across Australia. People began to dissect Phoebe's TikTok account in case there was any sort of clue as to where she had disappeared off to, especially as one of her more recent posts had been about people going missing. Had she run away? The circumstances she had been in would make that seem like a good idea. Were James and Tanika covering for Phoebe? Phoebe was not doing well living in this place. A person who worked at a nearby supermarket said they saw her often, looking worse for wear, with little to no money, desperate for food. The workers said they would pay for her groceries from time to time. They felt so bad for her. Texts from James to a friend were also leaked to the media, in which James was alleging that this is a witch hunt, that they're just trying to nab him and Tanika. And he also alleged that Phoebe had stolen 5,000 Australian dollar dues and jewellery from him and Tanika. So she got what's coming for her. That's all alleged. Cops don't seem to really care that when she left, she took nearly $5,000 out of mine and T's room. Yeah, trust me, so do we, chickie. Hell, we wouldn't even be angry about the money and jewellery she took. We couldn't give a fuck, just want to know she's safe and would like not to be lynched in the streets for something we didn't do, aye? Yeps, basically, unless she comes trolling into town, whistling Dixie, me and D are fucking dead men walking, aye? Right out. Who knows if that's true or no, but the house that was gross looking is now looking murderous. The story and the circumstances, folks, are just getting worse and worse.
Tanika, where's Phoebe?
Though throughout it, both Tanika and James were denying hurting her.
When did you last see her, Tanika? Do you know where she is?
She'd simply disappeared from their car on the way to the airport. End of story. End of story. Don't ask us anymore.
Do you have any comments on the disappearance of Phoebe at all?
I don't.
Now, CCTV of the car the morning she vanished saw the car driving towards the Good Night Scrub National Park, an extensive park in their hometown of Gin. It's about 66 square kilometers, 26 square miles. When their car was seen bombing it towards that national park, James and Tanika would say, not at all. You gotta be joking. We weren't driving towards the national park. We were driving on the road because it's near the airport and we were looking for Phoebe. We weren't actually going to the park. The park would later become a search zone for Phoebe Bishop. Whatever happened to Phoebe Bishop. It was on June 4th and 5th that both James Wood and Tanika Bromley would be arrested and charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of interfering with a corpse.
Just listen to me. This is Sergeant Barnaby signaling in. Placing an arrest on the sort of Phoebe Bishop.
That meant moving Phoebe's body more than once. A third person, Kieran Daniel Mittelhauser, was also arrested and charged with 2 counts of accessory after the fact to murder. He allegedly used her phone to interfere with the investigation. And it was on June 6th that Phoebe Bishop's body was finally found, and it was in that Goodnight Scrub National Park. It appeared to have been left there and then moved again at a later stage further into the park, and it was a grim sight. And neither her luggage nor her phone were found with her. Likely she was killed in the car, then they dumped her body out in the park, and then returned them later and moved her further away. Or she was murdered in the house the morning off. Regardless, she likely wasn't the one who made the call to her boyfriend. What exactly was going on in that house? Why they murdered young Phoebe Bishop? We don't know. It's still an ongoing investigation. Maybe she did steal from James and Tanika, and just looking at pictures of them, you can kind of tell that probably would be enough to get them to murder. Allegedly, they like to have a lot of parties in that house, you know, the kind of like that kind of party. Though even from the state of the place she was living, you can tell they didn't care about anything and anyone except themselves. It's just an extremely tragic story of young Phoebe who just seemed to want and be looking for help, and she never got it, even from those who were supposed to be looking out for her. It's an extremely disturbing story. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this whole video about some of the darkest TikToks. Haven't done one in a while. So yeah, listen, that'll do it for this one. I'll see you in the next whole video next time a next one is posted. But if you're looking for some more of that chapter, please check out the That Chapter podcast, which posts a new podcast exclusive story every single Monday morning. So you know what, give it a go. You can also check out the That Chapter Patreon, where for $2 a month you get early access, ad-free, all videos, and there's a Patreon-only Discord and a Patreon-only playlist of exclusive videos there too. So give it a go. But until the next one, please take care of each other, please take care of yourselves, because I love you. Mike out.